Good evening. I'm Ben Mankiewicz. Welcome to TCM. Tonight, we are presenting a trio of films written and directed by one of the most prolific, successful, and insightful filmmakers of the 1980s, John Hughes. Hughes began his career as an advertising copywriter in Chicago. He wrote some jokes for Rodney Dangerfield, then landed a job as a writer for National Lampoon magazine, where he'd been freelancing. Then in 1982, the year he turned 32, Hughes wrote his first solo screenplay, National Lampoon's Class Reunion. A year later, he got the chance to adapt a short story he'd written for the magazine, which became National Lampoon's Vacation, the movie that introduced audiences to Clark Griswold, played by Chevy Chase. But it was a string of films Hughes directed in the middle of the decade that established a brand that was entirely his own. With movies like his directorial debut, 16 Candles from 1984, and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, released a couple of years later, John Hughes proved he had a unique gift for understanding suburban teenagers. It wasn't just that his films captured the way they dressed and behaved. Hughes seemed to get to the soul of who they really were, how they spoke, how they were silent, how they rolled their eyes, who they were at their core. And he always did it authentically and without judgment. In the middle of that string of groundbreaking teen movies came the film we have first tonight. We've never shown it before on TCM, although it is an undisputed classic. From Universal in 1985, written, directed, and co-produced by John Hughes, The Breakfast Club. In 1999, 10 years before Hughes died of a heart attack at 59, film critic Elvis Mitchell wrote that no one before him had created a body of work that treated adolescent crisis as if it were a tragedy disrupting the world as the millennium nears. The Breakfast Club is adolescent angst at its most identifiable, a rich combination of sophistication and cruelty, to steal a little more from Elvis Mitchell. The movie takes place over the course of 9 hours during a Saturday detention in a suburban high school. 5 students are brought together to spend the day in the library under the careful watch of their strict vice principal. On the surface, the 5 students fit neatly into 5 different stereotypes. To quote a memorable passage in the movie, there's a brain, an athlete, a basket case, a princess, and a criminal. But as the hours stretch on and the students are forced to become better acquainted, they come to see that they're each far more complicated than the regular world allows itself to see. From 1985, with compelling performances from the 5 students, Molly Ringwald, Emilio Estevez, Judd Nelson, Ali Sheedy, and Anthony Michael Hall, plus typically stellar work from Paul Gleason as the assistant principal. This is The Breakfast Club. John Hughes wrote, directed, and co-produced The Breakfast Club, and also appeared in an uncredited cameo as the father of Anthony Michael Hall's character, Brian. Hughes based the fictional Shermer High School on his own high school in the Chicago suburbs. He spent his adolescence in Northbrook, Illinois, which until 1923 had been called Shermerville. Shermer became the fictional setting for many of John Hughes's films. The Breakfast Club was shot entirely on location at Maine North High School, although that wasn't the high school library you saw in the movie. They built a library set in the school's gymnasium. John Hughes encouraged the young actors in the cast to play with their characters and improvise, and in the end, he shot more than 1 million feet of film, unprecedented for a low-budget teenage movie. Fortunately, the task of going through all that footage fell to one of the best editors in the business, Dede Allen, whose earlier work included Bonnie and Clyde. Allen earned Oscar nominations for Dog Day Afternoon and Reds. Coming up, Molly Ringwald and Anthony Michael Hall return in another landmark teen movie from writer-director John Hughes. 16 Candles from 1984 is next on TCM.
Next on TCM, 16 Candles, then Uncle Buck, and later, Andy Hardy's Blonde Trouble. Have more fun with TCM tonight.